Hello, everyone. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me where you're listening from. Now settle in, the darkness has a story for you. My name is Alex. I'm 28 years old, and I've worked at Meridian Financial for 3 months. 3 months is long enough to learn where the bathroom is, and short enough that I don't have real friends here. 3 months is the exact amount of time where nobody really knows you, especially as a woman trying to prove myself in a company where collaborative just means noticing everyone. Meridian is a mid-sized financial services company in downtown Denver. Glass building on 16th Street. About 200 employees across 4 floors. The kind of place where everyone pretends to be collaborative while quietly competing for promotions and bonuses and the invisible rewards that come from being noticed by people who matter. December 24th, 2024, Christmas Eve. Most companies give people the day off. Meridian mandates a 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. office party, then welcome but not required to stay. Corporate speak for we'll remember if you leave early. I went to the party because I needed the job, health insurance, steady paycheck, a reason to get up in the morning. Those things matter when you're 28 and still figuring out what you're doing with your life. The office was decorated with the kind of corporate Christmas that makes you want to scream. Reused tinsel from last year, a plastic tree that smelled like dust and despair, a playlist of Christmas songs at a volume that makes real conversation impossible, but small talk unavoidable. There was catering, sad sandwiches, cookies that were probably made 3 days ago, eggnog that nobody touched because everyone knew it was mostly alcohol and bad decisions. The Secret Santa gift exchange happened at 3:47 p.m. I opened my gift. Red wrapping paper with gold snowflakes. Generic. The kind you find at any drugstore. Inside, a candle. Mid-range aromatherapy candle from Woodenwick. The scent was Fireside Comfort. The card inside said, "For the mornings when you need something warm, your Secret Santa." Generic. Harmless. Except, I burn a wooden wick candle every single morning. Same brand, different scents by season. Right now, in late December, I burn Fireside Comfort. I've never mentioned this to anyone at work, never posted about it on social media, never brought it up in conversation. I've never complained about cold mornings or mentioned needing warmth. Nobody at this company should know that detail. Someone at this company knew my morning routine. My hands got cold holding the candle. I told myself it was coincidence. Popular brand, seasonal scent, a lucky guess. But I'd already started paying attention. I was already noticing which coworkers looked at me slightly too long during the gift exchange. Which ones seemed to know something they shouldn't. I got home and I unpacked the gift carefully. The wrapping paper, the tissue paper inside, the candle itself. That's when I found the message, written on the inside bottom of the box. Small handwriting, blue ink, easy to miss if you weren't looking carefully. I saw you at Whole Foods on Sunday. You looked beautiful in that blue jacket. My hands went numb. Sunday was 4 days ago. I'd gone to Whole Foods alone to buy groceries, just a normal grocery store trip. I wore my blue jacket because it was cold that day. I walked through the store, bought food, left. That was the entire interaction. Nothing notable. Nobody was watching me. I was just a person buying groceries on a Sunday afternoon, except someone from my office had been there, watching me, close enough to see the color of my jacket, close enough to make a judgment about my appearance. close enough that I hadn't even known, close enough that they could approach if they wanted to. I sat on my kitchen floor and I shook. The phrase, "You looked beautiful," kept repeating. Not nice. Not professional. Beautiful. That's subjective. That's personal. That's the kind of thing someone says when they've been thinking about you, when they've built a narrative about you, when they've decided something about who you are based on a 3-minute observation in a grocery store. I called in sick December 27th, 28th, and 29th. I couldn't go back, not yet. I spent those days thinking about who it could be. 200 people, maybe 20 I actually interact with. Which one goes to Whole Foods on Sundays? Which one thinks beautiful is an appropriate thing to write to a coworker? Which one has decided something about who I am based on watching me? On December 30th, my manager called. "Alex, we're concerned. You've never called in sick before. Is everything okay?" I couldn't explain. Couldn't say, "Someone at work has been surveilling me, and I don't know who." "I'm not feeling well," I said. "Is it serious? Should I be worried?" "I don't know yet," I said. That was honest, at least. I came back on December 31st, New Year's Eve. The office was skeleton crew, maybe 30 people. Most people had the sense to take vacation time. Around 10 a.m., I got an email from an unknown sender, no name. Address? Email protected. Subject? Happy New Year. The message said, "I hope you enjoyed the candle. I picked it because I know you burn one every morning. I've seen you light it through your apartment window on my way to work. The glow is peaceful. I look forward to seeing more of those mornings. Your secret Santa." My mouth went completely dry. Through my apartment window, on the way to work. Which meant this person walked past my building. Which meant they chose to look at my window. Which meant they'd been watching long enough to know my morning ritual, to know when I light it, to anticipate that moment. I forwarded the email to my personal account. I took screenshots. I made notes of the time, 10:47 a.m., December 31st. Then I looked around the office. 30 people. Any one of them could have sent it. Any one of them could walk past my apartment on the way to work. I watched them work. I tried to identify who was paying too much attention. Who was watching? Who thought surveilling someone was romantic? Everyone looked normal. That was worse. I reported it to HR on January 2nd. I brought everything. The candle, the cards with the handwritten messages, the email screenshots, printouts. I explained that my secret Santa had documented my personal morning routine, followed me to a grocery store, and was watching my apartment window from the street. Diane from HR listened carefully. She had kind eyes, but a bureaucratic demeanor that made it clear she was about to deliver bad news in a sympathetic way. "This is concerning," she said. "I want to be clear about that. But these messages, they're not explicit threats. There's no sexual content, no demand for action, no direct threat of harm." "Yet," I said. "Right. But technically, what you're describing isn't illegal by itself. Observation, admiration, following someone in public spaces. These aren't crimes unless they escalate to something more specific." "What about the apartment window message? They've been watching my home?" "That's concerning, yes. But looking in a window from a public street isn't technically illegal. I know how that sounds. It's disturbing. But we need to be careful with what we can actually act on." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. "What about police?" I asked. "Police told me that unless there's a direct threat, explicit language about doing harm, they won't open an investigation. They said document everything and call immediately if the behavior escalates to something that's explicitly threatening. So I was supposed to wait, document, hope that nothing else happened while someone at my office was planning something. Diane promised to trace the email. She promised to be discreet. She promised they'd figure out who it was. 3 weeks later, she had nothing. The email came from a Gmail account created December 24th. It was accessed from multiple locations, including the office, but also from several IP addresses around Denver. We can't determine who actually created it without a subpoena and law enforcement involvement. Without a crime to investigate, the police won't help. So you can't find out who it is, I said. Not a question. Not easily. Not without significant legal action and a crime they're willing to investigate. I felt something break inside me. Then what do I do? Just go back to work, not knowing which of my 200 coworkers has been watching me? That appears to be the situation, Diane said gently, like she was sorry about it, like it was unfortunate, but there wasn't anything she could do. I started paying attention differently after that. I began noticing which coworkers walked past my desk too often, which ones lingered, which ones seemed to know details about me they shouldn't know, which ones made eye contact that lasted slightly too long. I changed my route to work, longer, less convenient, but it meant fewer opportunities to be observed, fewer windows to walk past, fewer moments of visibility. I ate lunch at my desk instead of going out. I stopped going to Whole Foods and ordered groceries online instead. I stopped burning candles entirely. I made myself smaller, quieter, less visible. Every day I had to sit at my desk wondering which person was the person watching me. Which face did it belong to? Was it the person who said hello in the elevator this morning? The person who made coffee in the break room? The person who smiled at me in the hallway and meant something completely different by it? I'd become someone who anticipates being watched. Someone who assumes every interaction could be with the person who decided I was worth documenting. Someone who can't have a normal morning anymore because someone has made that ritual feel like an invitation. The email said, I look forward to seeing more of those mornings. I thought about that phrase constantly. Present tense, future-focused, not finished, not a one-time observation, an ongoing anticipation of moments they expect to see. Then, on January 15th, I found something on my desk. I was leaving work late. Most people had gone home around 5 or 6 p.m. The office was quiet, except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the sound of cleaning crews starting their evening rounds. My desk is in the middle of the floor. No privacy, high visibility. Everyone walks past it multiple times a day. I always close my desk drawer. Always. It's a habit from childhood, from living with roommates, from feeling like privacy is something you have to actively protect. Control of my personal space. But when I packed up my things to leave, my drawer was slightly open, just barely, an inch or so. Enough that someone could have put something inside without being obvious, but obvious enough that I'd notice if I was paying attention. My hands went cold immediately. I opened the drawer carefully, like it might explode. On top of my personal files, on top of my things, was a Polaroid photograph. An actual Polaroid, the kind that develops when you take it. The kind people used in the 1970s and 1980s. The kind that's personal and deliberate and impossible to deny. Someone had been old enough or nostalgic enough to use a Polaroid camera instead of their phone. It was my apartment window, my living room visible through the glass, my couch clearly visible, a lamp I keep on sometimes, the corner of my bookshelf, and in the window, framed by the glass, was me, asleep on my couch, my head tilted back, my eyes closed, my mouth slightly open, completely defenseless. The photograph was taken from outside, from street level, through my window. During daylight hours, I could see the late afternoon light. Someone had stood on the street outside my apartment building, had looked through my window, had seen me asleep on my couch, and had taken a photograph as deliberate proof. There was nothing written on the back. No message, no explanation, no signature, just the photograph itself. Just proof that someone had crossed a line from watching to documenting, from observing to collecting, from existing in my life without permission to bringing physical evidence of that violation into my workplace. I couldn't move for several minutes. I held the photograph and I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking so badly the image blurred. Someone at my office, someone I see every day, had stood outside my apartment, had photographed me sleeping, had come to work, had walked through these halls, had sat at a desk somewhere, had made coffee, had eaten lunch, had pretended to work normally, and at some point during their day, they'd walked past my desk and left this photograph, like a message, like a promise. I reported it immediately. HR called an emergency meeting. Security was brought in. They reviewed every second of footage from January 15th, looking for anyone approaching my desk, anyone acting suspicious, anyone who might have left the photograph. But they found that a malfunction had occurred in the hallway cameras at exactly 4:47 p.m., the precise time window when someone would have needed access to my desk to leave the photograph. 14 minutes of footage was missing, not recorded as an incident, no work order filed, no explanation, just a gap, a convenient, perfectly timed gap. Security explained that the cameras run through a shared network closet on the 4th floor. Anyone with facilities access, maintenance, IT, building management, could pull the feed or cause a temporary outage. It wouldn't necessarily be complicated or suspicious looking, just a network glitch, just bad timing, which meant anyone at Meridian with the right access level could have done this, or anyone who knew someone with that access. The person who left the photograph had planned this carefully. They'd known about the camera placement. They'd known they had a window of opportunity. They'd known how to exploit a system that wasn't as secure as it should have been. The police finally opened an investigation. They took the photograph as evidence. They opened a case file with a case number. They took statements. They told me I could file for a restraining order, but without knowing the person's identity, a restraining order against unknown coworker wouldn't be legally enforceable. So I had options. None of them actually protected me. I had to keep working there. I had to keep sitting at my desk in an office of 200 people, not knowing which one had stood outside my window and photographed me sleeping. Not knowing which one had coordinated with someone or known the security system well enough to delete the evidence of their crime. I still work at Meridian Financial. It's been 2 weeks since the photo, 14 days of going to work knowing that someone in my office has been inside my life in the most intimate way possible, has seen me asleep, defenseless, unaware, has documented that moment and brought it inside the workplace like a trophy. By late January, after weeks of HR interviews that went nowhere, I have a security camera pointing at my window. I keep my blinds closed at all times. I've changed my locks. I've documented everything: the candle, the messages, the email, the photograph. I've filed a police report. I have a case number. I have an investigation. But I still don't know who it is. Every morning when I wake up, my first thought is, were they watching? Did they look for the candle glow that never comes? Are they disappointed that I've stopped the routine they were anticipating? I watch my coworkers differently now. I study faces. I watch body language. I try to find something: a smirk, a knowing glance, a moment of satisfaction that tells me who's been photographing me in my sleep. Nothing. They all look normal. They all seem normal. Any one of them could have been standing outside my window with a Polaroid camera at dusk. Any one of them could have looked through my glass and seen me on my couch and decided it was worth documenting. The police say they're investigating. HR says they're being thorough. Security reviewed the camera malfunction. Everyone takes it seriously. Except nothing changes. I still sit at my desk. I still walk past the person who took that photograph. I still exist in the same space as someone who thinks photographing a sleeping woman is acceptable, professional, normal, and I still don't know their face. That's the worst part. Not the violation itself, though that's horrific. Not the knowledge that they've been watching, though that's terrifying. The worst part is the not knowing. Because it means any interaction I have could be with the person who did this. The person who says hello in the elevator could be them. The person who makes coffee in the break room could be them. The person who holds the bathroom door open could be them. I think about what comes next. The email said, "I look forward to seeing more of those mornings." Present tense, future focused. That's not past tense. That's not finished. That means they're still anticipating something. Still waiting. Still planning. I don't know what they're anticipating. I don't know if they're going to approach me directly, if they're going to try to start a conversation, if they're going to escalate to something more direct, if they've already started following me again and I just don't know it, if they've adapted to my changed routines and found new ways to watch. I keep the candle, the wooden wick, fireside comfort. I never lit it after that first time. It sits on my kitchen counter in front of the window as a kind of bait, close enough that someone watching might think I'm about to light it, close enough that my stalker might be hopeful for just a moment. But I never actually light it. The windows stay dark. The blinds stay closed. I've become someone who lives in darkness to avoid being seen. And somewhere, someone at Meridian Financial is watching that dark window and remembering the glow they saw before, remembering the morning routine they disrupted, remembering me asleep on my couch, looking forward to more of those mornings. And I know that one day, the anticipation will stop being about the candle glow. One day, they'll decide that watching isn't enough. And when that day comes, I'll never see it coming. Because they've already proven they can get close. Already proven they can be inside my most private moments. Already proven they can bring proof of that violation into my workplace and leave it on my desk while everyone is watching. I still have to work there. I still have to sit in that office. I still have to not know which face belongs to the person who photographed me. And they're still looking forward to more of those mornings. I just don't know if I'm ready for when they stop watching and start acting.